In a world that's bright, come take a seat on the bean. We gather where laughter meets. Every Tuesday's a trip, come share your flair. In this warm embrace, there's love everywhere. Talk it out, all vibes alright. Nobody's wrong in our light tonight. So join us in this cozy space. We're talking it out, with love we embrace. No topics too bold, no dreams out of reach. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. From stories of pride to journeys of heart, we celebrate life, each unique part. A safe haven here, where spirits soar free. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. Let the colors shine bright in the warmth of the night. So join us in this cozy space. We're talking it out, with love we embrace. No topics too bold, no dreams out of reach. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. Let the colors shine bright in the warmth of the night. So join us in this cozy space. We're talking it out, with love we embrace. No topics too bold, no dreams out of reach. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. With each word we share, we bring the light. Join the talk show, let your heart take flight.
Hey guys, it's SayCo Alford from the SayCo Show. I hope you're doing great. This feels kind of new and shiny. I tell you, it's been quite the process losing a parent. But before we start the show, and I'm glad you're here, and I hope you're doing great, I just want to stop before we go into the topic and say that I so appreciate you guys. Y'all sent me voicemails and texts and phone calls and cards in the mail to the P.O. box, and you guys have just been wonderful. You were there for me, and it means a lot, and I appreciate it. I did thank some of the folks that were able to be thanked online through social media, but for those of you that are, quiet listeners or silent listeners, whatever you want to call it, I just want to say that I really do appreciate you guys so much. What can I say? You think you have a parent for a long time, and you think your parent's going to get, into their 80s or 90s. That's what we all hope for, right? My father was dealing with prostate cancer very well. When he took his medication, his body was definitely reacting in a good way to the medication. So that was going very well. And of course, when you're older, doctors say you probably won't die of this. We're going to take care of it. There's medications, etc. You'll probably die for something else. And that's what happened. My father's crutch in life caught up to him, and cirrhosis of the liver gave his kidneys a terminal infection which shut them down. And once your kidneys shut down, then the other organs start shutting down. What I will say is this: if you're going to go, he went really fast. And that's probably best. That's what, makes me feel better about this whole thing. If he had to go at 71, it's good that he went pretty fast. He was just in the hospital a couple of days. They sent him home on hospice, and I think it was like 30 hours maybe that he was home on hospice and he was gone. And my sister and her wife and the family were all around him and took, the best care they could for him. I'm so glad he was over on his little mountain at home, surrounded by the people that mattered, and I'm going to miss him. A big mess was left behind. No will was signed, and there's a girlfriend involved, and it's just kind of getting a little bit ugly. So those of you that are believers, pray for me. Those of you that are not, I hope that you send good wishes and energy towards me and my family, because we're certainly going to need it. But enough of all that. I have challenged y'all to stand by me through this mess and this horrific event that has happened in my life long enough. And so I'm going to push that to the side from now on the show. And we're going to just carry on like we have been doing all these years, discussing all things queer, my life, my career, etc. It's funny how you think you have the time until you don't. And the whole process has really opened my eyes to a lot of things. But I appreciate you guys so much. So let's get into topic. I've missed y'all. I really have. We are talking today about my doll collection. Now, for those of you that have followed the show when I was over on the radio station, we did have a couple episodes talking about hobbies and collections. And, of course, I started talking all about Patsy Cline and some of the dolls that I collect. And through Podbean, we have also had, I think, 1 or 2 episodes about dolls. So if you want to listen to those, you'll have to go over to Podbean and find those there. But here, on the new way we're doing this, I'm still on Podbean, but I'm also wherever you find, your favorite podcast now. I'm venturing out, y'all. And for those of you that have followed me onto the other platforms or through different sectors of social media, I appreciate it so much. Always remember, whether we stay on Podbean after this year or not, all you have to really do is Google me and just put in SayCo Alford or SayCo Show or All Things Queer or SayCo Alford Testicular Cancer. All that will pop up. You could even type in on Google SayCo Show Podbean or SayCo Show Podcast. Just use all those keywords that y'all know me by, and you'll find the show there. I have talked about this before, but as a young kid, I knew I was different. Now, I didn't know anything about being homosexual or feminine or sex, anything about that, of course. But, when I was younger, I did have an older sibling and a younger sibling, excuse me, that were girls. And so I used to play house with them, and I would play with them, of course. We're under the same roof, right? So I would play Barbies, and I would play house and all that. I have a memory that I've talked about before, but I'm not sure if it's actually recorded and on Podbean to listen back to, or if it was on the radio station. But one of the first stories that I remember about wanting a baby doll, there was a doll that came out that was kind of more like a puppet. And if you guys remember Cabbage Patch Kids back in the 80s, and what a big monstrous thing that was. And I guess I'm dating myself now. But those were major success, and there were spin-off dolls. And one of the dolls that my sister wanted it looked kind of like a Cabbage Patch doll. You knew it was a knockoff, but I think it was cuter. And it kind of had like a puppet type body. So picture no feet, just a baby head, kind of looked like pantyhose stuffed with, doll stuffing. And not many features on it. You just knew it was supposed to be a baby dressed in a baby gown and a blanket. And it came in this wrapper of a box that also was a bassinet. And it was on the cheap side, y'all. I'm talking definitely under $10. And a lot of my family and relatives collected dolls, and my sister wanted one, and I too wanted one. And I just thought it was so interesting to make it move and look like it was real, and I wanted one more than anything. And y'all know me, I want everything. I've always been one that collects. And I've spoken about my past challenges with life and being gay, etc., suicidal tendencies, depression. And so I'm always joking around with people, but it really is true, and this has come up in therapy. I'm an emotional eater because mentally I'm trying to fill the void or a hole in my heart or whatever you want to call it. So I'm constantly stuffing food in my mouth because it soothes me. It makes me feel full or complete. And so do my hobbies. So I've collected things all my life. And so I wanted this doll. I had a couple of movie action figures and whatnot. Superman, Spider-Man, the Star Trek posable dolls that came out in the 70s. I started collecting a lot of those as well, and movie star type Barbie dolls. And but I wanted this baby doll, y'all. My God, I wanted it. And I was told no. So Christmas came around and birthdays came around, and my sister and my younger aunt and whatnot would get them, and I wouldn't, and I wanted it so bad. Well, one day out of the blue, I was given that baby doll, and I just could not believe that my family, my mother, actually let me have one. It was one of the very rare instances that I was allotted the gender bending type toy role. And so, because I was constantly told all my life, don't walk that way, don't talk that way, don't react that way, don't comb your hair that way. Everything was constantly checked. And so it really threw me for something else because I could not believe that I was actually given one. And they really went down the road of it's a puppet, it's a toy, it's a, they gave it all kinds of names. But in my head, they knew it and I knew it. It was a baby doll. And I loved that thing. I really did. Of course, I outgrew it, like a lot of my stuff, but it was very, 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 very important to me. And through the years, I have collected dolls off and on. Some dolls were action figures. Now I'm talking like more than 12 inches. Some dolls were movie dolls, like the Gone with the Wind Scarlett O'Hara dolls. I have all those sets, all the different clothes outfits in boxes that have been unopened and they're sealed. I had all the original Michael Jackson dolls that came out. I've got the red leather Thriller doll. All these Barbie type dolls in a way. I never really collected plushies or what I called poochies. Never anything like that. And so let's fast forward to coming out of the closet, moving away, finding my husband, going through several different relationships. And here I am in 2008, where there was an explosion was happening of reborn dolls. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's a lifelike, hand-painted custom doll that you get from these reborn nursery companies, and they're all over the world. So when I started seeing that men and women were really fascinated with this new type of doll, of course, you know me, I wanted one, and I jumped on that wagon real quick. I found a nursery outside of the United States, over in the United Kingdom, reached out to the folks that made them, which later I found out was a gentleman that painted the doll. And I asked if I could buy the doll on the website, and they said yes. And I said, now listen, this is a big purchase. And I I want to put it on hold. How can I put a deposit down, et cetera, till payday? And they were so gracious to me. And I was able to pay over the internet, and the doll came very well contained. However, the box was severely damaged. And so when it arrived, I was like, oh no, all this money, and the box is wet and crushed and smells like cigarettes. And I was like, this is going to be a shit show. But when I opened it up and I realized that the doll was very well protected, wrapped in blankets and bubble wrap, etc., thank goodness they did that, because the box was in very bad shape. And I was just tickled. I was excited about the whole thing, and never really collected after that. Once I had one that I just thought was the cutest thing in the world, it never really went any further. We kept it on the bed. We kept it in the guest room bed. We kept it in a vintage crib that we had, because we were certified foster parents twice. And so you needed, a bed, and you needed a kid's bed, and then you needed a crib, and you needed a bassinet. And so it's always been in the guest room in some way or form. And I've never really gone down the road of, like some of these folks do about reborns, where you're changing them every day, you're going through diapers every day, etc. But these reborn dolls, I tell you what, guys, you can drop some coin. Some dolls are painted custom, so you can say, I want it to look like my grandmother when she was a little baby, or we lost a baby, so if you would, we took pictures at the funeral, can you make this doll look like the baby we lost? I mean, there's all kinds of situations. Or your kids are grown, but you want two dolls that look like your kids when they were babies. You can go down a whole wormhole of customization, and it was a lot of fun to just check it out and get into that world. There were a bunch of shows that were interviewing people, and there were reality shows. There were people that said they were addicted to it. There were men and women saying that they treated the doll as a full daily interaction of their life. And so there are people that change their dolls 3 times a day, and they nurture them and care for them like it's a real living baby, for whatever reason, whether they have some sort of mental health need something weighted and heavy to hold and squeeze and fall asleep with, etc. There's all kinds of reasons for people that choose to have one of these. And there's many ways that you can spend a lot of money. Some folks spend $5,000-$10,000 on a baby because they want the baby to look a certain way, or they want the baby to be weighted so it's heavy feeling, several pounds. They want a baby of a certain size or ethnicity. They want the reborn doll to breathe, the chest to rise and fall. They want the baby to be able to turn its head, blink its eyes, move its hands and legs, etc. You can add a heartbeat, whether you feel it or hear it. You can add cooing baby sounds. You can really go all the way if you want to. There was one lady, and I know she wasn't from the United States, but the eyes of the baby were real gemstones. I mean, you can go all out, and people buy jewelry for these kids, and you can buy them designer clothes. It's really something. And it's its own universe, guys. If you dive into this on the internet, you're going to find hundreds of thousands of videos. I mean, channels on YouTube, TikTok, all over Google and the internet. You can really dive into all of this. My collection never went down that road. I never really wanted to start collecting clothes or change him every day or hold him every day. It was just an item that I wanted because I really look at it as a piece of art. It was something that was hand painted. Of course, at the time in 2008, I really couldn't afford the real expensive ones. So I went to what I believe is kind of the clearance, last chance type of page of the nursery, and I went through all those dolls. And when I found the one that just melted my heart, I had to have him. She had already named him Josh, and a lot of my friends know that I have a reborn named Josh. But the clothes he came in is the clothes he's been in all these years. What is it? Over 18 years now I've had this doll. And they've come and gone in popularity. But the reason why I'm talking about it this week is because going through grief, losing my dad a month ago, and just needing a hug and a cuddle and being very emotional. I kind of dove into what works best through grief and actually found a bunch of channels that have connected reborns excuse me, with grief. And there was actually a gentleman that is straight, he says, with a son that's 8 years old and a wife. They're very religious in their church. And he has actually started a channel about 6 months ago of straight men that collect dolls, specifically reborn weighted dolls, lifelike dolls, and has gone down the road of using it because of his disability of being blind, and needing the doll to fall asleep. He's medicated, etc., etc. And it's working for him. And the collection is starting to grow. He now has several dolls and lots of clothing, and his wife picks out, things for him. And there's boundaries and rules within their marriage for him to collect dolls. And it's just this whole thing. Now, I reached out to him and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm a Christian, and I'm married to a man, and he thinks I'm batshit crazy, that I'm not playing with a full deck because I have this reborn doll, and it's so refreshing that you're using it for mental health needs." And I was, deep diving into my pitiful depression of losing my dad, and found your channel, and I just want to say this is so cool. A straight guy, well, he says he's straight, with long hair, wearing a headband, holding a baby. I mean, my Lord, that's pretty rare, right? So I reached out to him and sent him a big, long, email and said, "This is so great. I've been to your website, all of your social media, your YouTube channel. I'm watching all your episodes." And then he wrote back, "Look, I'm a straight man, and I don't believe that your lifestyle is correct with God." And he went into this big, long thing of judging me. And I thought, well, hellfire, here I am, thinking I'm reaching out to an open-minded person that is also a believer with a doll and a disability and a wife, and I just thought we had a lot of things that are in common. And then he decided to judge me for being gay. I tell you, can't win. But I do wish him the best in his life and marriage or coming out story, whatever's going to happen in the future. I wish him the best. But I started thinking I should probably check on my doll. Our guest room has been a nursery, and then a guest room, and then a catch-all, and then a storage room, and then a catch-all, and then a nursery. And it's gone through several changes. And so I thought I better go check on that doll, because we gave everything away the last time we decided not to be foster parents. And so I went in there and unwrapped him and vacuumed him off and shook out his blanket and checked him to make sure everything was kosher. My doll is weighted, so he's got the special weighted batting inside of him. He's a cloth body that was signed by the artist, numbered, and he's got vinyl feet and like fourth up his leg, and then he's got vinyl hands and like halfway up arm, and then everything else is cloth. The rest, like the thighs are cloth, his upper biceps are cloth, and then, of course, his head is vinyl. And they rooted his hair and eyelashes in. He's got magnets in his mouth so he can hold on to a binky or a pacifier or a dummy, whatever you want to call it. And he has been a constant in my life for 18 years. I don't think I've even held the doll more than 5 times, but recently going through grief and seeing how others use this as a cuddling coping mechanism, I took mine out and shook him off, and he's sitting in our media room right now and on the opposite chair. And it's been very interesting to kind of rehash a hobby, a collection piece, an art piece, if you will. And I've spoken to my best friend and to several people, and we all kind of circled back around to these hobbies and these collections. For a year or two, I put photography off, and then it swings back around, and I take out all my film and my 8mm cameras, and I deep dived into all that, and then it just kind of fades again. And then I get into deep collecting of mini Patsy Cline records from all over the world, especially Japan and down in New Zealand, Australia. And then that kind of fades because there's not a lot really to be had out there. And so I keep circling back to all these collections. But the one thing that has been a constant is keeping and maintaining what I have of each collection. I know a lot of people say, I'm not into this right now, so I'm going to give it all away. That has never been me. I hold on to everything. I'm kind of a pack rat, but everything is labeled and sectioned off and categorized, and it's in some plastic bins there, stacked up in the corner of our guest room. But I started thinking, isn't it amazing, even if it's not a real baby, but you see these videos that they go to old age homes and they hand a reborn baby doll to the older folks, and they light up. They nurture it, they start crying, they hug it, they kiss it, they start swaddling it. And it really is something about the power of love and bonding and connection. And for many people, it's just a hobby. It's just, I want to buy the next doll. Right now, the latest thing in the reborn world is full silicone bodies. So these babies are weighted, they're heavy, they have full silicone or half silicone limbs. The rest of their head and body is weighted with glass beads, etc., etc. And you can really customize. Some of these make noise, move, blink, heartbeats. I mean, you can go down any type of road that you can imagine, because nowadays everything's possible. There are even channels, people that collect reborns that their eyes are closed, looking like they're falling asleep or asleep. And now what people are doing is they're taking pictures of their sleeping baby and they're asking AI to do short videos with the doll moving, sitting up, eyes open, etc. I did that with my reborn Josh, and it was just a little too much for me. So I said, okay, I did it. I get the fascination of making the doll look like it's living or moving or blinking, etc. So it was kind of interesting to see my doll with eyes open. But for me, it's never been more than just a piece of art. I look at it as, wow, someone put in 60 hours of work into this doll. I mean, rooted single hairs into its head and then sealed it so, what they painted stays on. And they actually, put in magnets and stuffed it and sewed it together and everything. I mean, it's just a piece of art, and I've always appreciated dolls since I was a youngin'. And so I thought, I've got to have one, but it's never been really more than that to me. But diving into TikTok and YouTube, there are people that take this very seriously, and it may be for PTSD, mental health needs, the loss of a child, the loss of a parent, anything. And so that's what I thought I'd start talking about today for our topic, because every Tuesday I love the chance to talk to y'all whether it's about what's going on in my life or what's going on in the news or what's going on in your world as far as, collecting things. Reborn dolls are definitely more than a toy, more than a doll, more than a hobby to a lot of people. And as I was, jumping into that online, I really came across some folks that are quite sincere about it. And it gives them the nurturing coping mechanism that brings them relief daily. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Whether it's a doll or something else, that's great. As long as it's not harming anyone or yourself and it's bringing you some sort of compassion or love or joy, well, my gosh, who's going to say no to that, right? So I thought it was just an interesting topic to discuss. Now I'm going to turn it to y'all, and you guys let me know on social media, however you want to let me know. But how do you guys feel about reborn dolls? Do you think you'd ever own one? And those of you that are my constant subscribers and listeners, I mean, this is your show, so I always ask questions. I'm just the host. This is your show. You're the listener. Do you guys think you'll ever buy a reborn doll? That's something I'd like to know. If you have one, I'd love to see pictures, or I'd love to know your route of collecting the doll and what it brings to you and your family. There's one lady that I was watching her channel. She changes the baby, wakes up the baby. The baby has its own nursery, room, bed, closet, everything, toys. And they actually go out in public with the doll. And they have a car seat, they have a bassinet, they have a stroller. And they're out in their lives. They're with their family, their spouse, their local neighbors, everybody. And they've got this baby with them at all times. I think it's beautiful, and I think whatever works for you is valid. However you're feeling towards the doll, that's valid. Now, the gentleman I was talking about that kind of said, that's great that you have a doll, but I don't want to be friends because you're gay. He coddles the doll and holds the doll, sleeps with the doll at night, etc., etc. But he uses it to fall asleep with most of the time, but he does change the doll's clothes and whatnot. His church actually asked for a meeting. They wanted to know if he was going to go off the deep end, or if he was going to start bringing it up at church events or on Sunday or whatnot. And he kind of had to answer some questions because I guess his religion doesn't really stand with him on the topic. And so have you ever collected anything? Here's my next question. That has made someone uncomfortable or uneasy? Has it ever caused strife in your life, whatever you collect? There's a lot of people that are addicted to collecting pets. And that's how you watch these episodes where they're hoarding animals. They have 30 chihuahuas or something, and they can't feed them. They can't take care of them, but they know they just want more and more. That's actually the situation for one of our rescues. My little black and white chihuahua. The lady was a double amputee veteran in a wheelchair and got knocked over by her 10 larger dogs. And then there was also my little chihuahua. And so the lady ended up getting very ill and was outside, tipped over, unable to call for help for several days. And they ended up putting her in a home. And of course, they put all the dogs out for adoption. And somehow my little dog came from Florida up to Tennessee, and that's how I was able to adopt her. So she has a past. She's got a different name and a past with big dogs. And but people go off the deep end, for whatever coping mechanism it is for them, into hoarding, and collections can become a problem. And so my question is, have you ever collected anything, alive or reborn or whatever, that has caused issues in your personal life, your job, or your marriage? That would be an interesting answer to receive. I try to always keep this microphone turned towards y'all because I want the show to be as interactive as possible. And I would love to hear if there's anyone out there that is listening to this either tonight on Tuesday night or later. I'd love to hear your feedback on either your reborn doll or your collections, because I'm fascinated by what people collect. I'm just absolutely fascinated. If someone asked me what I, collected lifelong, it would be Patsy Cline. I've always collected, vintage, rare, limited mini records of hers. Really anything Patsy, though. And I've collected since I was about 5 years old. And so that's been my constant. But what's yours? I'd love to know more about that. Getting into the reborn world, it's really opened my eyes to how folks have turned it into a full-fledged business. There's a lot of money to be made. There are so many artists that are just so talented. They're able to paint these dolls and make them lifelike. And some have opened up store nurseries so little kids can go into the adoption area and walk through, the hospital room or adoption building, and they go through and they pick the baby and then they name it, and there's a nurse there that will weigh it and fingerprint it and whatnot, and get you a birth certificate and certificate of authenticity. Some of these dolls are numbered, and it really starts them off on a collection. Now, these are younger kids, but there are people of all ages that collect these reborn dolls. For me, I was looking at my reborn's outfit that he's been in for 18 years plus, and it's definitely getting a little tattered and dry rotten, and there was some yellowing stains and whatnot. And so I think it's time to get him a new outfit for the next 18 years. So that might be something fun for searching online for a new outfit for him. But other than that, I don't know if I'll ever really put any more money into him. I'd love for him to be a warming baby. I'd love for him to be a little heavier. I don't know about the moving and the cooing, but a warming baby, that would be kind of interesting. I don't even know how much that would cost. But there are so many options to the reborn world out there that you can do to a doll. It's just phenomenal. Now, the gentleman I was telling you about, he's really getting a lot of weird comments on his channel. I noticed that people were kind of insinuating that he was some sort of freak or pedophile, or was he having sex with the dolls, etc., etc. And it really went down a really dark path. I just want to make it clear that we are not talking about adult dolls of any kind on this episode. We're just talking about reborn baby dolls. And I hope I don't get weird comments back. I usually get some sort of negative feedback on my show. It's folks that, there's hashtags on everything, and people think they're going to get some like manly guy on here. I don't know why. It says it right there in the description, all things queer. And sometimes I'll talk about something too much and people will go, can you just stop talking about Patsy Cline or stop talking about your job? And what I would say to that is there's no reason for you to mandatory listen to any of my channel. I just want y'all to be happy and valid in your lives. So I certainly hope I don't get any weird feedback like that gentleman has on his YouTube channel. But it's definitely an interesting hobby. It really, really is. And it looks like it's maintained its popularity through the years, especially since I've known about it, which is, almost 19 years now. But I thought it was something to be, chat about, maybe have a lighthearted episode since I've been posting some, not posting at all, and then letting you guys know that I was going through a funeral and whatnot. So I thought, you know what, this is going to be a lighthearted one, where we can kind of tiptoe back in and get my bearings. And I'm recording live home in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, outside Nashville, on my 630 Electro Voice microphone. God, I love vintage. Don't y'all? I love analog. I love vintage. But here we are in the digital world where I'm speaking into a vintage microphone, but it's all digital through social media. Isn't it something, the times that we live in? I can't wait for the next big thing. You know, the cell phone, basically it's glued to my hand. I'm so addicted to my phone. I can't wait for the next big thing. What do you think it'll be? Lately, I've been watching about flying drones that can hold a 200-pound human being, and you can fly it around. So I've been watching videos like that, and it is mind-blowing. It's kind of like the Jetsons, where you can just zip in and out of work and home. I can't wait for that. I hope I get to see all that. But anyway, guys, I want to just go ahead and cut this a little early and say that I love y'all. I miss y'all. This has been a good thing for me to come back and deep dive back into work and life and hobby and show. And so I hope you guys are just doing great. If you want to drop me a line about reborn dolls or any ideas or comments about this podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Write me at the SayCo Show at writeme.com. And I'd love to hear from you. I think it'd be a lot of fun to get your feedback on all this and let me know what you're thinking and where you are with your collections. It'd be really neat to hear back from someone that actually has a reborn doll. I think that would be really, really neat. Just to hear back of how you collect the doll and how you interact with the doll, and whether it's simply play or is it more than that? Is it for love, compassion, PTSD, some sort of mental health need? I would love to hear about it. I think it'd be really interesting. Also, if you want to send a voicemail or a text, 615-805-4363. So let me know. I think it's a lot of fun either way. And I'll let y'all know if I buy Josh a new outfit. Go out, buckle up, be safe, put a smile on your face. You never know how it's going to affect someone around you. Since I've been dealing with death and losing a parent and whatnot, I will say this. If you have someone close to you that's in your chosen family, reach out to them and say howdy, because tomorrow is not promised. So I hope you'll promise me that you're going to reach out to a few people within the week and just let them know that you love them, because we need to hear that more often in our lives. I'll talk to you later.